Welcome to this episode of Alive and Thriving. Today's episode is a really special one because I am going to introduce you to the very, very talented, very smart, very inspirational woman who actually is responsible for my EFT tapping career. So let me introduce you. Lorna Hollinger is an international EFT master trainer and practitioner, an Amazon best-selling author, and the CEO of the multi-award-winning business Australian Tapping Institute. Lorna has been featured in numerous print and online magazines. She has appeared in numerous media, website articles. She is a regular guest on Australian and international podcasts. Lorna also holds diplomas in life coaching, business management, master practitioner certifications in emotional freedom techniques, which is EFT-Tapping, and neurolinguistic programming. This is going to be an amazing episode. If you would like to know more about how somebody who is so acclaimed and so successful manages to juggle a busy online training academy and still live an amazing and sane life, then continue listening. This is Alive and Thriving, where we tackle all things that stand in the way of holistic well-being and self-care in life and as women in business. Join me for real and raw conversations and inspiring guests who are expert in their fields as we come back to life together, overcoming stress, anxiety, nourishing our mind, body, and emotions. I am your host, Jessica Reed, alternative therapist, life and wellbeing coach. And if you are ready to grow, heal, and thrive together, then you are in the right place. Welcome to Alive and Thriving, Lorna. It is so amazing to have you here today.
Thanks, Jess, and thank you for inviting me onto your podcast and the newly named part as well. I'm super excited to be here, alive and thriving.
I know. I love the rebrand, Alive and Thriving. Now, you are not aware of this, but when I introduced you and your bio, I have actually introduced you as the woman responsible for my career in EFT tapping.
Okay. Tall
No
order,
pressure.
but super mama bear proud. You know, I get very mama bear proud about all of our students. So I think I'm really just mama bear proud of what you've done, achieved and accomplished, and came through our school to catapult this, what is it, jettison, whatever the word is.
Absolutely. I know. I was thinking about it before and I thought there's a couple of very significant people in my life and particularly in this pathway that I've taken over the last few years of my healing and my growth and then the business. And I tell my story all the time and I say I came across EFT and I enrolled in a practitioner training for purely selfish reasons. I just wanted to feel better. I wanted to know how to use EFT to feel better. And then one of the requirements of your training, because it is very, very thorough, advanced practitioner training, is that you have, I think a minimum of 30 hours one-on-one work with pro bono clients.
Yes.
And that for me just cemented like, this is what I have to be doing because the change wasn't just me, it was being a part of it with other people. And that's powerful. Like that's something else, isn't it?
And you embraced the fact that you knew you needed to do your own work, because the more of your own work you do, the deeper you can take clients.
That's exactly right. I will never forget you saying the universe will only send you who, I think you said who you are ready for or what you are ready for. The universe will only send you what you can handle. I think
what you can handle. Yeah. And so when you go, and it sounds maybe a little bit funny to say, but the fun stuff with clients is when you can go and do the deep stuff.
Yes.
Because you see the transformation, you feel it, and it's so humbling and so alive.
Absolutely, it is. It's that coming back to life, isn't it? It really is. I think listeners are going to hear me say that a lot now. It is though. It really is that coming back to life. Now, Lorna, I have introduced you, with the bio and the credentials, but could you just tell our listeners a little bit more about you and your journey and how you became this amazing, accomplished woman that you are with this beautiful business and this life by design, which we are going to talk all about today. Who are you? How did you get here?
Who am I? So I would describe myself as a sassy single woman. I live in Sydney. I have grown-up children. So I have these fabulous young men who are now off living their lives. They're building their dreams. My sons are all off building really great careers. So now it's just me. And you're right, talking very much about life by design. I want my life to be freedom. I want to be able to create the life I now want to create. I feel I've done my mum job in raising them into men who are fully functional, good careers, good to women, that sort of stuff. But yeah, what is it for me now? So yeah, what else is to tell you about me? So yeah, I love freedom. I have 4 values that I live my life by: playful, passionate, determined, and freedom. And if something's not ticking those boxes, I'm disinterested, I'm not doing it, and I'm not going there.
That's beautiful. And that really shines through. If you have a conversation with Lorna, if you sit through her training or her masterclasses, or you follow her on Instagram, that really shines through those values, is particularly that playful. I love that about you. That's something that I would love to connect more with me, is that playful side.
And that led into the book, because everyone will
Yes.
my book is called Thank God He's Gone.
Yeah.
But it's not a man bashing book. I mean, I date beautiful men, I raise beautiful sons. Yeah. The tagline is The Smart Woman's Guide to Getting Back Your Personal Power and Reclaim Your Confidence.
I love that. If
the book had been read by men, it would have said, thank God they've gone. But men don't read those books after divorce and separation. Yeah. So attract to women, thank God he's gone.
Yeah. So let's just talk about the book for a minute.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
I'm so glad you brought it up, because we just chatted about some things we chatted about before, and we didn't really chat about the book. So I hope that is okay that we
absolutely,
do. But because you brought it up, can you just tell us a bit more about how, because you're a #1 bestseller on Amazon.
Absolutely. And there's an Audible version as well now. So you can read the book, you can listen to the book.
Thank God He's Gone. Yeah.
Thank God He's Gone by Lorna Hollinger.
How did it come about?
I scoped the book out in like 2013. I had scoped out this very detailed book. And when I looked at all the chapters, it was taking her from, she's just become separated and single, into this brand new relationship, and how is she going to manage the blended family with other children. I thought, that's ridiculous, Lorna. Like, that's too big a journey, too fast for somebody. Mm-hmm. So I then looked at, okay, so what would be the first part I would want to talk to someone about? So I really just took it in. Part of it's my story, and part of it's my life lessons, and part of it's how I got from divorced, single, victim, oh my God, look what they did to me, the pair of them, how that affected my children, into healing from that, understanding that he did the best he did, I did the best I did. We may not have got it right, but having a lot of forgiveness and empathy and compassion for the journey he was on. Yeah, I was very traumatized as a young woman. My mum died when I was 18. Him and I having no family and just having each other must have been massive for him. He's sitting in his own trauma. So when you look at all of that, so to get to a place to go, I can now let that go. I can understand, and I want to help other women of, let's let that go. Let's be grateful that that's done and over with, because now you get to go, what is my life going to look like? As I say, how am I going to restructure my whole life to be what I want it to be about? How do I get my freedom? So it's all of that all woven in. It has a little bit of EFT tapping, not a lot. So it's not just a tapping book, but it really is about helping women take you on the journey from it's crashed, it's done, it's finished. Even if it was 10 years ago, it's done. Yeah. How do you get to love the life that you've got? Because now you get to create it on your terms. And I think so many women forget that of, it's done, but now I get to create what I want. My canvas is blank. What I want my canvas to be about. Yeah, absolutely. Wow. So I can see that being really, really pivotal in somebody who's going through even like a grief of a past relationship, or just in that transition period, or even just refinding themselves, because even if you maybe not divorced,
you may still be refinding yourself, and creating that new step of life outside of children, or letting go of something that you've known for a long period of time, like a career or an identity or something. It sounds like it's going to be really, really transformational for so many women to read your book.
And identity is perfectly, Jess. It's the who am I now? I was part of a couple together, us. Now I'm not. Sometimes it's with children, sometimes without. But you're right. What's my identity? Who am I?
Yeah, because we tie so much of what we do we tie our identity often to what is going on in our life, don't we?
Our roles.
Yeah, that's a big thing I learned.
What all the hats we make.
Practitioner training.
Just how so that's kind of how the book came. Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
And that I know we're both so excited. So that's how the book came to life, and I wrote it in about 2 or 3 weeks. And just a very cathartic process. If somebody wants to write a book, do it. Do yourself a favor and do it. So much of the book that got written did not go in, but it was therapy to me to process my relationship with my father, my relationship with my mother. It said she died when I was quite young. It gave those opportunities to write about those and process. They'll never see the light of day. But they were cathartic.
That's beautiful.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask, because you mentioned, it's not a tapping book, but I am wondering how pivotal EFT was for you in your healing journey, in that process. So did you know about it before you started this journey? Did you learn EFT partway through? Like where did EFT come into your life?
So I was already a life coach. So I'd been a life coach for probably 3, 4, 5 years by that stage. And one of my bestie friends who I'd gone through coaching college with kept coming up with this weirdo stuff about tapping on your own body and your face. And I thinking, oh, seriously. And like, she's on the other side of Australia. So, it was only ever phone calls and I could roll my eyes privately on this side of the country. But she was really, really adamant. So eventually I get on a plane, fly to Perth, catch up with her. And she goes, right, captive audience. I need you to stop thinking and I want you to feel this. Okay, so that weekend I did some sessions with her where I stopped talking, I stopped thinking, and I felt I was sold. Couldn't get on that internet quick enough to find practitioner training for myself.
Wow.
Wasn't prepared to wait, wasn't prepared to get, and I wanted it now. So I did. So I found somewhere, got myself trained, got myself qualified as fast as I can, added it to my client sessions. Oh my God, the difference for them was just, it was just like this whole world had opened up that didn't exist before. It was the missing link between, I see my clients every week. What happens in the meantime when they're triggered, when they've gone to mum's and had a fight and he said this and that, what happened to them? I recognize our clients sit in a level of trauma, might be too big a word, but for some of them it is. They had nothing because they didn't have me until next Thursday. So tapping for me really filled that beautiful gap to go, right, when you leave here, if that happens, this is what you do. Do that before you text me. And it was just this, oh my God, this is going nowhere. This is staying in my business and has completely replaced all the coaching, most of the coaching conversations. Everybody's doing tapping, whether you came for it or not.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I really love about tapping is that it is such a versatile tool, first of all, in terms of what you can address with it, because I haven't really come across anything I haven't tried to tap about yet. But also too, and obviously that it's somatic and it's also psychotherapy all together as well. But I love from a client perspective that you can have that level of self-help, that level of let's calm our amygdala, let's teach ourselves that this is safe, but either it be between sessions or whether you're listening to audios and tapping along with things on the internet, which are obviously at that universal level, or you can use it as this amazing healing, releasing, reprogramming tool, really, when you combine it in that therapeutic setting. And I just love that it has that versatility for self-help and for healing. That's
and for me as well, I know when clients would first come to me when I kind of had just brought EFT in, and I'd get I've been seeing a therapist or a counselor for X number of months or years, and my first words were, you're not seeing me in 2 years. If you're still here in 2 years, I'm not doing my job. I'm happy for you to go off, do your own work and come back,
Yep.
But I'm not going to sit here with you for the next 2 years without us shifting and processing and moving everything along. And
Much
that was the
faster.
gold part for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, people became empowered because they got to own, and let's face it, we know it's on the end of your own fingers.
Yeah.
They were empowered as part of their own healing journey.
Absolutely. You know, someone said, and I by no means like I've experienced talk therapy myself, and I know, you know, everything holds its place.
Agree.
And everybody benefits differently from different things. So by no means am I saying anything bad here. But we were talking the other day, I was talking with someone the other day about how, you know, when you're in that talk setting, how you're thinking about the feelings and you've got to think about it. And there's always that, and that's probably part of why it takes so long to process it. But when you're doing something like EFT and you're working with the body and it's that body psychotherapy that you're doing, you are feeling the feelings that are associated with the event, with the trauma, with the emotional attachment that the amygdala's made. You're feeling them. And so when you're tapping and you are desensitizing them, you are cutting that, you know, cord between the amygdala's arousal to that thought or event and the way you feel and where it's stored in your body. You just get to that processing and releasing a lot faster, in my opinion, if you use your body. Yeah.
I agree. And it's that processing side of it. It's the not sitting in it, not being re-traumatized and not having, and that's part of my story because I've been divorced twice. So my first divorce was considerably more traumatic than my second divorce. But my first divorce was very much, I went to a counselor and I went to her every Thursday. It was, God, 20 something years ago. I paid her $100 to talk at her every week and get angrier and angrier and angrier. Nothing shifted, nothing changed except my level of anger. I was already angry. And it was. And so when it came to what was I going to do when I wanted to enter the healing space, that was not a choice for me because my experience had been the fact that I just got angry and I didn't want that to be anyone else's experience.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fantastic.
Mm.
I love that and then, like you said, they can then take it home. You can give them something so that between seeing you next week or fortnightly or whatever someone's doing with you, you can say, well, if this happens, this is the tool. This is what you do. And no one can see me because we're on audio, but I'm tapping. This is what you do.
tapping on the side of the hand as we do.
Just simply start by feeling it. Use words if you need to, but this is what you do, right? So you're giving them that, as you said, you're empowering them on their own self-healing journey and leaving with some really, really powerful tools that are going to actually help them. They're not surfacing emotions, surfacing things by talking about it and bringing their focus and attention to it, and then just going off unsupported for the next week left to deal. And if you've done any healing, you'll know that when you start unraveling things, you know, there comes the stress, the anxiety, the illness in your body. I know I've been physically ill processing some things, you know, but it's also worth it. But if you're sitting in that space alone between sessions with someone without any idea how to help yourself between that makes you not want to go back.
Exactly. Whereas tapping can also speed it up because you can say, well, okay, so we've dealt with ABC today. The little trailer bits of that are XYZ. You could do some tapping every day, a couple of minutes a day on that. Just look at that list and just tap on that. And it helps speed it all up. So when they come to you next time, something else that's deeper that you as a practitioner can take them through and hold the space as that's deeper stuff gets to get worked on because the little top stuff that just bubbles, they can often just process it as well on their own in between sessions.
Yes, that's exactly right. And I love that you brought that up because often when we are doing our self-healing on our own, and I know I experienced this on my own, I could only take myself so far. Because the brain's like, no, you know, it's just we're wired for safety and survival. It's just, you know, it's so simple, really. And so to go and take myself into a space where I didn't feel safe to think about, to re-experience, to potentially re-traumatize myself, which we can often do just by thinking about something. You know, so you're right, having someone who knows how to move you through that space. And I love, you know, you've taught us techniques in our practitioner training where we don't even have to know someone's story. We don't, you know, you don't even have to tell your practitioner what is going on for you. We just need to work with the body and how it feels and you know, those processes that you've trained. So yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
I love how these conversations go absolutely nowhere where I plan them to go.
So do I.
I really wanted to ask you, Lorna, because we talked about life by design and you've spoken about, you know, your 4 values and how important that is for you. And if you do follow Lorna on socials, you will see that she is fun and she's constantly putting herself into these experiences, you know, that I know I certainly would have to do a bit of tapping beforehand for some of
Are you
them.
talking about my trip to Cairns?
Yeah. So, look, I guess I really wanted to know though, because a lot of our listeners are business owners in whatever
Mm,
business they have. And life by design is a lot of reasons why entrepreneurs and business owners get into what, you know, they are doing because we have this vision that we can spend this time
yeah.
with our kids and be present here and do this and have a successful business. But then so often the business consumes us because it's a machine that just doesn't stop taking whatever we are willing to give it. So I really
Yeah.
would love to know, and I would love for you to share, how do you run a successful online academy, a training academy, and still create that life by design that you love?
How do I do it now is different to how I was doing it before. In the early days, so let's talk about the early days. The early days was very much I knew I needed systems,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew I needed to document things. If I was going to do a process, I knew I needed to write it down.
I'm writing this
So
down because I do not do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was the thing. If particularly like, you know, something as silly as simple as video production. Go to do a video production. I'm going to do 4 videos a month and I'm going to produce. And I get to there and go, how did I do that again? What size did I have the video? Oh God, what resolution was that? And did I put it through the transcription first? Those things I recognize. If I didn't write them down, too much time got left to thinking, because one of my main things is I don't want to have to think about it more than once. I don't want to have to figure it out more than once. So when I figure it out once, I'm going to write it down step by step, because that's one of my big things. Don't ask me to rewrite it and don't ask me to rethink it.
Yeah.
So write systems. Anything you do more than once, write down step by step how you do it. And it will feel really dumb in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, as your business grows, it will stop feeling dumb because you won't have to think. Because let's face it, if you've got 5 things in your head now, you're about to have 55 things in your head tomorrow.
And I can
As
think of
your
how much
business
time I
grows.
would save, honestly, in my day, my week, um, by having these systems, because I
Yeah.
basically rewrite a system anytime I want to give a new task to my VA.
Yeah, correct.
But whereas if I did it and I'm thinking, how did I do that? What did I do? Or, you know, you are so right. How much time I would save and get back just by that simple step.
And mine was driven from, I don't want to have to think.
Mm.
Because the brain's actually not designed to think.
No,
That's
it's
why we can do
lazy.
so many things on, because it takes up energy. The
Yeah.
brain's meant to work on repetition. I tie my shoelaces, I do my teeth, all
Yep.
these things on repetition. So yeah, so that was been my one thing, is to write systems, and don't get overwhelmed by the word systems. It simply means write it step by step.
Yep.
That's all a system is. Write it step by step. What are the other things to do? I had to prioritize.
Mm-hmm.
I had to really decide what was important and what had to get done in and around everything else I get done. You know, I'm in a different space as probably a lot of your business owners are. My kids have moved out. My life is completely my own. I don't have the responsibilities for the children, but I did have. So I worked full time and I went to college and I started my business. So I had a lot of things going.
Yeah.
I had to get a bit organized as well.
Yeah.
I had to sit with my sons and say, this is the stuff I need to do. What do you need to do? And get us on the same page of what was important to all of us.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things that I had to do. So my kids were older then. They were primary school heading into teenage years, and then up through there. But it was having to make sure I knew what needed to get done. Now, these days, I have a virtual assistant. So I've only just taken a virtual assistant on. If I had to go and look at importance, outsource before you can afford to do so.
Oh, yes. I'm in a mastermind and she drums that into us. And I just did a happy dance when you said that I jumped off my chair. We were literally talking about this in my business mentor call yesterday. And she said, you have outsourced because that's what I did. Can't afford, or not can't afford, but you don't believe your business is in a position to be spending out that money.
Correct.
But oh my God, yes, Lorna, you are dead spot on. Every successful woman in business who I have spoken to has said exactly that. So thank you for reiterating that.
And not just your VA stuff. If you're not good with books, get a bookkeeper to do your books for you. Get someone to set up the system for you. Outsource those things. And I said, I was as guilty as, no, I can't afford it. I can't prioritize money for that. My VA has been the best thing I have done. And I said, I know I've had the luxury because I have been single. I haven't had responsibilities of other people. But now that I've gone, well, I don't really want to work that many hours. I'm working way too many days a week for my liking. There's way too many other things I want to do. Oh, she can do all of that.
Yeah.
So I took my VA from 10 hours. She did work 10 hours one week, 10 hours the next week, and I was going to stagger it up over the next 3 months. And I rang one day and just said, oh, no, I need you full time.
Yeah.
I'll find the money. And she's just invaluable.
Yeah. And you know what? You probably find, or I'm going to assume, that as you've done that, you haven't even needed to find the money because you've had more time to do income producing things and enjoy the life that you love. So
correct. And you and I talked offline about it. This year for 2022, I think has been trust. Trusting that the universe always delivers exactly what you need when you need it.
Yes.
And as you said, the money it turned up. Haven't had to think once about how am I paying her. It just turns up because I trusted. And I think that's hard when you're new in business. If I give now, when will the return come? And if I give now, when will the reward come? And it's that trust part, because the reward comes second.
Yes.
And as a new person in business, early in your business, it's that trust.
Yeah. And that's big. I am early in my business. I'm nearly in my second year, but that was a big lesson for me this year. I was, so Lorna, my daughter goes to daycare now 3 days a week, and they're my working days. At the beginning of the year, it was 2 days, and I was putting her in these casual days of daycare and just overwhelmed by the amount of just the simple things, the graphic creations, I don't know, I can't even think now, but so many tasks that were just like that I find tedious that someone else does really, really quickly. And I was putting her in casual days of daycare, and they were costing me $165 a day. But because it was daycare, I didn't really think about it. And then one day it just clicked to me because I'm like, no, I'm not in a position to hire someone. I'm not in a position to hire someone. And I was like, hang on a minute. Let's redirect that $165 and let's just start with a VA just for 3 hours a week. But that 3 hours, she does what I was doing in that whole day because I was flustered and frustrated and not enjoying the things I was doing. She does in that whole day, in 3 hours, what I would take that whole day to do. And the money is reinvested back in my business. And it has just brought so much enjoyment. I outsourced Facebook ads because they were time consuming and confusing. And I'm not an expert in that field. So it's that outsourcing and that all of that. It's a big lesson, and it is scary when you're new in business because it is that where is the money going to come from? But sometimes you need to do those steps before you can actually grow.
Correct. I look at the work my VA does, and there is no way on the planet I want to do that work again. I just
And they do it so well, though. They do it so well. Yeah.
And
if they didn't like the admin work, they wouldn't be in the VA industry. So give them what they like and we'll do what we like.
And that's exactly it. And what it's done for me, it is freed up my time to do the projects in the business to grow the business.
Yeah.
Because I was so bogged down in the doing stuff of the business and having to get on social media and do this. And I was so bogged down in that stuff. The project work, as I call it, which is the new products, new programs, improving the programs I've got. I now have time to do those projects that I never had before. So it's like, this is win-win.
Absolutely.
And my last thing for people
Yeah.
in business, enjoy it.
Enjoy it.
You came in it to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Find the bits about it that you enjoy.
Yeah.
If you've started your business and you absolutely hate it, you don't have to continue.
No.
You can stop
I love that.
and quit and leave and
Yep.
go do something else.
Yeah.
If you're not enjoying it and it's not what you thought it would be, and you can't reframe it to what it's something you enjoy, stop doing it. Life's too short.
Yeah.
My story is my mum dropped dead when she was 42.
Yeah.
I was 18 and she was gone in 2 weeks. Life is short and life is fragile.
It
Do
sure
not do
is.
your business if you're not loving it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. That would resonate too with so many new people in business because I know even for myself, we get caught up in that the busyness and wearing all the hats, all the things, and the list is overwhelming. And it feels like because it's hard to stay in your own lane when you're in business as well. It feels like all the shoulds. Well, they're doing this, so I should be doing this. I should be on this platform as well. I should be doing this. I should have a weekly podcast and a weekly blog and this and this. And it's overwhelming. And you've got, like for me, I had young children. My youngest is only 3, so she's still very much she doesn't occupy herself when we're at home together. She needs me for that. And then I don't know, I even found at some stages there was resentment. I was like, Amelia, I have work to do. And then no, that's not why I created this. And so you are so right. If you are not enjoying it, look at what you can do, because ultimately you get to control. If it is your business, you get to control. Do you need to launch right now? Do you need to push something back? Make it fit you in your life. I love that.
And I know for me, my boys are 30 and 28 now. When they were younger, those young years for me were so important. I didn't build my business to where I want it to be now, and it is now, because spending time with them was more important for me. I knew, particularly my youngest one, I said the 28-year-old, I knew within the next 2 to 3 years at that time, he would move out. And I knew once he moved out, he was never coming back. So at that point in time, there was only him and I left. So those hours for me were valuable. And I made the priority to go, no, I'm not going to do that tonight, and I'm not going to work tonight. Matt's home and he's watching TV. I wonder what he's watching. So it's really finding the balance of recognizing while your business is important, so are those children, so are the family. I came out of a marriage where everything, his career was the most important thing of all, and none of us had any say. Like none of us even came a close second to the to his career. And he sacrificed all of that. The flip side is, after 6 months after we left, they sacked him. They sacked him. So he didn't have us.
Wow.
And it's not nice, but it just shows you that was his importance, and that's where he wouldn't listen to come back to the family, because his needs were getting met at work. That value, that importance, that significance, all those connections, things were getting met for him outside of the home. But it proves that said 6 months down the track, they sacked him. He had none of it. He had to rebuild completely.
And you're right. It is, you need to focus on where those values are being met for you. And what is important in your life right now, and where are they not being met? And if that's not happening in your business, then you can figure out why. And it's likely because you're just not living quite in alignment with your values and getting those core needs met.
And that's how I get so much done in the ATI, because my core needs are so met in it. My need for connection, I have all of the students. My need for significance, I get to lead a whole school. My safety is there because it's something I love to do, and variety because I've got so many things. So I know so much of my core needs are met in that one endeavor that's mine.
That's amazing.
So that would be something for everyone. What's your drive? Where are your needs met in your business, even in the early days?
Perfect. I love that. You spoke about us of being happy, enjoying it as being your tip. At what point, because you used to do, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you used to do one-on-one coaching, one-on-one EFTs, so you were working one-on-one. At what point did you know that it was right for you to switch out of working one-on-one to becoming a trainer and a business mentor? and starting a school, like an academy, you know.
So it started with,
shift?
So what was my last divorce? 10 years ago? I don't know how many years ago it was. Would have been 2014-ish, in and around then. And my marriage was falling apart and things were getting pretty bad. I was already an EFT practitioner, and I went looking for someone that I would work with as a practitioner to take me through my divorce, to help me go through all of that. I couldn't find anybody.
Oh.
People I talked to, and remember, I had NLP, I had diploma in coaching, so I had quite high qualifications, high business quals. So I was looking for someone who was able to take me with and qualified where I was. Didn't find anyone. It was like, if I can't find them, other people can't find them. So how do I grow my own? And it literally was that question: how do I grow my own? How could I do this? And I built the school. We started my dining room table, and I trained like everybody else did, and I had all the curriculum, and I just kept sitting there going, but they're not getting what I'm getting. They're not able to create a business like I can. They can't take clients where I can train them. What's missing?
Yeah.
So I came back to the drawing board, pulled my training off the market, and got out my great big whiteboard and scoped everything I had and mapped all that. How did I do it? And then what did I teach people in my EFT training? Where's the gap?
Yeah.
And that became the basis of my EFT training, because I know it's not like the standard.
No, I know it's much more in depth.
It does, because we talk business, we talk lifestyle, we talk get you through your own stuff. I mean, I've seen graduate people in 6 weeks in EFT training, and it's
I've not understood how that can happen.
Terrifying.
And it actually it scares me too, because, and I feel very confident to say this with the qualifications that you've given me and the qualifications that I've sought outside as well. If somebody is coming to you for trauma and you have not had proper training and experience in that kind of space, I'm not, and I don't mean personal experience, I mean experience working with people and knowing how to hold that space and what's right and what's wrong, then you can actually do more damage than you think you are doing. And it scares the living bejeebers out of me that people can go off and they can be let out into the world. Even, I mean, I'm graduating tomorrow from a diploma in clinical hypnotherapy, and it's a similar thing in the sense of I looked at training and I thought, oh, do I really want to study for 12 months? And then I looked at what we did. We did Gestalt counseling. We did an element of psychotherapy, a really strong trauma focus. We did past lives, grief, goals. I forget what else, because there's been 12 months of it. But I thought, okay, so I'm going to leave with that.
Yeah.
What are the people who are graduating in the 3-day weekends leaving with? And that, it's the same. It's exactly the same with that 6-week quick turnaround.
Yeah.
It scares me. Anyway, if you're going to work with someone, just do your research and meet them and feel comfortable and safe with them. And don't feel like you have to go with them just because you've reached out to them, is my advice if you're listening, looking for a practitioner.
So I get the flip side of it.
Yeah.
I do a lot of business mentoring and coaching and coaching of practitioners who have trained elsewhere.
Of course.
So I know what they're not getting because they come to me because they can't get it sorted. They just can't get it off the ground and they haven't done their own work.
Yeah.
So I see that in people who turn up.
And it's a big one. And I love that it's a requirement of your training that you do that work. It's more than a module. It's throughout your triads, which is where you've got, you work with peers so that you can learn and grow and get feedback and things. But you are doing your work through that process as well as through I'm having a mind blank on what we call it, personal peace procedure process and the support that you offer as well. And I love that that is a requirement, because if you are sitting in a space and you are triggered by somebody as a practitioner, you are not holding space for that person. And if you are not sure how you are going to deal with that, especially if something is raw, like I know right now, I'm not taking on clients who want to see me for grief. And I just can't, because I'm so much in my own right now that I just know that I'm not in a space to hold to hold a space. It's almost a conflict of interest for me.
Mm.
But I'm aware of that, and I have that self-awareness because I have spent all these years doing this required work. Some things I wasn't ready to look at, but we did anyway.
No, we made you do it anyway.
It's very thorough. It is very, very thorough. Yeah.
And
I love
that's
that.
the way I built the school. I was always intended to be the premium school.
Yeah.
That was always when I did any of my training, I'd go, oh, you can have a statement of attainment. I'm not a statement of attainment kind of girl. What's the highest qualification I can get?
Yeah.
What's the best I can have in whatever it is I'm studying? So I built my school around that premise.
Yeah.
It is the premium school. It will be premium pricing. People can go and get cheaper elsewhere, but we know we deliver because we help grow the people. And that's our important part, to grow our students into who they need to be.
Absolutely.
Into the person they need to be, the archetype of who they need to be.
Yeah.
We know that's part of the journey we take them on.
It absolutely is. And, there's no value price-wise on releasing, healing, and letting go of things that have been holding you back your whole life.
There's one of our students said, what was her words? It's the cheapest therapy she's ever been in.
Probably
is spending 12 months with us and doing all the training and releasing all the rest. She goes, oh, it's the cheapest therapy I've ever had. And I graduated with a qualification. Well, if that's how you want to language it, well done.
Yeah. And I'm only imagining that if I was in your shoes and I'd gone from this one-on-one work, obviously deeply impacting people's lives one-on-one, but now teaching others, like through that outreach, how many lives you are impacting by releasing these amazingly trained practitioners out into the world, who are then going to be able to go and hold space for more healing for other people. And that reach that you now have is just so amazing.
I laughed at the beginning.
Processing in my head.
The goal at the very beginning of the business was I want to touch the lives of 1 million people.
Yeah.
I know I can't do that on my own.
No, that's exactly right.
That was always my thing. Touch the lives of 1 million people. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're well on your way to doing that now.
And that's what the school gives me, because it gives reach to everybody.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Let's chat about EFT for a minute.
Let's chat about EFT.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, let's chat about EFT. So Lorna was featured in, so some of you may have heard, there is a book, a really top Australian researcher, EFT practitioner, Dr. Peter Stapleton, and she wrote a book, The Science Behind Tapping. Now, that is, I know nearly every practitioner will have listened to it or read it. Lorna is actually featured in that book with one of her clients' case studies. So just to give you an idea, of how much of a master practitioner she really is. And so I would love to know from you, for someone who is brand new to EFT tapping. So let's say someone hasn't listened to Alive and Thriving yet. And if they have, then they've heard me talk about tapping a lot. But I want to hear from you as a very, very experienced practitioner, trainer, EFT master. What is EFT tapping?
Let's bring it back to basic, girls. What do you do when you pick up a baby? You put it on your shoulder.
Yep.
And do you tap it or do you pat it?
Well, I'm making tapping.
Yep.
Sorry, I've got a baby in my arms. I've got a baby. If you could see me on Zoom, I'm like, I know what we're doing. I'm also bouncing up and down.
Correct. We tap our babies anyway. Yes. We call it patting, but we tap our babies. You and I know, Jess, the meridians, they run down the back, they come under the bottom, they're all through the body. We know instinctively, women as well as men, that tapping on the human body calms the body. It sends messages back to the brain. It sends messages back to the amygdala that everything's safe and everything is fine. So we instinctively know as humans. We go and we hug our friends. What do? Wrap our arms around them and we pat their shoulder. Yeah. We walk past our family and we pat their arm.
Yeah.
So we all know that there's this something about this touch. So tapping on the body with the talk therapy is when a thought comes through your head, it reprograms or rewires that thought that was previously scary. Let me take you to another one of my analogies. Think of a recipe card box. I don't know how old any of you are. My mum had an old recipe card box. And in that little box, she had savory, she had sweet, she had whatever. Think of your brain like that. When you have a memory that's upsetting, so a dog barked at when you were 2, it licked your ice cream when you were 5, it ran at you when you were 7, in your box for dogs, your brain's going to go, ran at me, stole from me. So everything in there is this little recipe card. When a dog comes up to you now as a grown-up, your brain instantly goes dog, fear, runs back to that recipe card, pulls all those cards that says all the reasons why that dog was scary, and instantly your brain triggers, that's a threat.
Yeah.
When we do our tapping on the thought of the dog coming near us, and release the trauma in that, or release the thoughts in that are fearful, the recipe card box gets less and less things in it. Because our brains aren't afraid in this very present moment. Right now, the brain's not afraid of a dog. So if a dog comes into your awareness, it has to have a reference point to know it was scary. It's either something in the past, because if I'm afraid of them and you're not, it has to be something that's happened.
Yeah.
And same with the future. If we think about all that dog that's at Aunt Mary's house when I go on Saturday, the brain's still got to go back to a past to reference. Why was that fearful?
Needs to go back to the recipe card to see what experience you've had with dogs. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when we do tapping and we empty the little recipe card box, it doesn't have the reference point to go, oh, that dog's scary.
It's like you're taking out the fear ingredients each time you're releasing something. You're taking out the fear ingredients of the recipe until there's no ingredients left.
And so you and I know, so there may be 5, 6 events of why you're fearful of the dog.
Yeah.
And through tapping, we can release each one of them through different processes. I'm no longer afraid of dogs.
Yeah.
That's the really simplistic way of explaining what tapping does, that people get easier, rather than talk about the science and the amygdala and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. That's really, I haven't heard you use that analogy. And
have I not? Okay.
No, I haven't heard that one, but I have, but I'm just processing it. I really love it. And I'm actually, because I'm a very visual person, I'm imagining like these ingredients just disappearing. Because it's, I know you described it to us as, when we start working on something, we've got our tabletop issue, which is what we think is going on and what we're feeling in the moment, what we're experiencing. And there's always legs that are holding up that table.
Correct.
And so I guess those recipes would be like those legs. You're knocking out the legs one by one until the table collapses.
So you may have something that's fear of public speaking, perhaps. While it may have different legs, there may be 15 times when the teacher shouted at you for speaking out in class, and then another leg might be you got home after school and, hey, mummy, hey, daddy, and they just went, oh, look, I'm busy, go away. Yeah. So each of the legs can have its own little recipe card box of points of reference that, it's just the way our brains process. Like, give me all the evidence that supports my belief.
Yes.
But if we think about it, sticks in a recipe card box or a filing drawer or anything that represents container, it helps us to conceptualize what tapping kind of is.
Absolutely. Thank you for explaining it in that way. Now, tapping, I guess getting into a little bit of the science of it, tapping has some studies, I think by the Tapping Solution came out last year, showing, that amazing 43% drop in cortisol levels, which obviously is the main stress hormone, just by tapping in 1 hour. Now, Lorna, I know you have some tips. EFT is, I guess, when people describe it, they say it's a stress reduction and personal growth tool, is how I always hear it described. And so I would love to know your tips. I believe you have 3 for us on managing stress and overwhelm. Now, I'll just say, as we are recording this, it's nearly Christmas and my brain's like, I haven't bought Christmas presents. My next tapping circle is actually letting go of mental overwhelm. That is the time of year. That's the focus. But as this episode goes to air, I feel like people will have just had this little break, because that's what we do. We take this little break over Christmas and we think we're all refreshed and rejuvenated, and we get back into it, and life comes and hits us again like a ton of bricks, because that little honeymoon period of the Christmas break is over, right? Yeah. So I feel like even though January for some people are like, oh no, I'm good by January, I guarantee you're going to want to hear these tips.
So
what are your top tips?
Tips for overwhelm. So overwhelm to me is lack of prioritization. And I know people are going, Lorna, but it really is what's important. Are those 15 posts a week on 3 different platforms, as well as writing 2 blogs and 4 videos? Do you have to do that this week? Honestly, what difference is it going to make to who you're going to connect with? So prioritize. Overwhelm to me is prioritizing. And whether that's you're prioritizing what you've got to do with the kids, the husband, the partner, whatever they're referred to as, the shopping, get some structure. I hate structure. I'm not a structure person. I hate it, but I see the value in me not getting stressed.
Yes.
Put some structure in place. My sister loves structure. I hate it. The other one is going to be, we're always going to advocate tapping. You and I, Jess, are always going to advocate tapping on anything. Now, if people are not familiar with tapping or not really getting into doing tapping for their own work, remember you can tap on one point, whichever it is. My favorite's the collarbone, so it's like a flat hand at the top of my chest. I know you can't visually see me, but flat hand, top of the chest, and just tap there and breathe. No words, don't think of any fancy video, what they're saying, no scripted, just breathe.
Yeah, that's my favorite way out of a panic attack.
Yeah.
And I've been very fortunate not to have one for a long time, but with that overwhelm that goes on in your mind and your body when you're having the panic attack, you're not necessarily going to be doing a full, EFT starting on on the side of your hand, even though I feel like I'm having a panic attack, even though I feel like I'm dying right now. You're not necessarily going to do that, but just simply one point, whatever your favorite one is, or whatever you're drawn to in that moment is likely what you need. Tap and breathe, because those calming messages are still going to be sent to then allow you to start processing what's going on once you've calmed. So yes, I will always advocate for that simplistic, just start tapping and breathing. Absolutely.
What was our third one? Did it just pop out of my head, my third one?
I interrupted you, sorry.
Oh, no, so we're going to do overwhelm. We're going to put some structure in place. We're going to what was my third one? I wrote all the others down. I didn't write this one. So maybe we're only going to go with 2 top tips for stress.
You know what? Tapping and breathing is
it gets us out of
anyway.
And it literally just needs to be a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
It just takes the edge off, because our plan at that point in time is to calm you enough to allow you to get on with your day. Because sometimes you don't have time to go, oh, let me just go and, spend 50 minutes tapping. You got stuff to do.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Calm yourself in that moment.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's going to cover off anything. So we might not have 3. I just have tips.
2, you know what? 2 are perfect, because prioritizing is massive as well. That is such a big thing, and something that people do struggle with, because everything in the moment seems important, particularly if we are putting some emotional weight behind it as well, then it definitely feels important. So learning how to prioritize, what do I actually need to do? What is important right now? Something that
I've thought of number 3.
Before, what is in my control as well, when you're prioritizing and learning to let go of what is not in your control, which is the process on its own, learning how to just accept.
And I know what number 3 is. Be kind to yourself. Stop beating yourself up.
Yeah.
Stop being a battering ram of where you should be and all the things you think you should be doing. Stop it.
Should is a dirty word.
It's a horrible word, but literally be kind to you.
Yes, I love that.
Absolutely. I wish someone had told me that in my early days. Just stop and be kind.
Yeah. That was going to be my next question for you, actually, is, as a woman in business now, what would you tell yourself earlier? Is there anything else other than stop and be kind to yourself?
Stop and be kind. Really look at what's important. Really decide on what is important. I did a lot of things that I didn't have to do, or I did them out of, exactly what you said earlier. They're doing this and I should be doing that. And what are my competitors? All of that.
Yeah.
And I think the main thing for me, always enjoy what you're doing. If you're not enjoying it, stop it. And my reference point of that is I did a lot of coaching in the not so much party plan, the direct selling space.
Yeah.
So I would work with a lot of people who, you went on party plan on Saturday and by Monday you're in a business.
Mm-hmm.
And then 3 weeks down the track, 6 months down the track, they hated it because they were joining for the connection.
Yeah.
And it was almost like working with me gave them permission to quit.
Yeah.
Permission to say, I don't like this anymore. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Great. Go do something else.
Yeah.
Go do something else. Go and get a job. If a job's what you want to do, go and get a job.
Yeah.
Stop listening to anybody.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So if you're listening today, next week, next month, whenever you're listening to this, write that down, because even though it seems so simple, so simple, I promise you'll forget it. And that is something that you'll want it to be a reference point back to. Am I enjoying what I'm doing? It's a simple question, but actually ask yourself right now. And if you do listen to this podcast and share it on social media, I'm going to pop Lorna's socials in here. But, let us know. Reach out to either of us in the DMs. Are you enjoying what you are doing? And how has this question, as you reflect on that, made you feel? Do you feel like, yeah, actually I am. I know where I am, where I'm meant to be. Do you feel like there could be some shifts? Or did we just really trigger the living daylights out of you?
Because you absolutely positively hate what you're doing because you've just invested 10 grand in your training. Don't care. Or is it just a little bit challenging and you need some support to get yourself on track and to get some direction?
Yeah, exactly. I've heard a lot. I've recently met quite a few people actually who a lot of teachers actually, and they go through and they do all of their qualifications, which is a long 4 years at minimum, depending on if you're doing early childhood, it's more. And maybe they started that straight out of uni, or maybe they have this thriving passion for teaching, but then somewhere along the line something's happened. And whether this is only these women. I also know a lot of teachers who are still in the profession and love their job, by the way. Just being very, very clear here. And my mom's a principal, so there's nothing bad happening here. I just wanted to say though that these particular women that I've met recently, though, there was these connections, like, but I did the 4-year degree. But what will my parents think? Or I just finished paying off my HECS debt. And I want to leave. And they're not leaving or making decisions. And this could be any profession. This is just people that I know in my life recently, that they're not leaving or making decisions based on things like that, whatever their reasons are, but they're not happy. And so are you enjoying what you are doing? And if there's somewhere that really is pulling you in another direction, it's learning to trust, surrender, listen to your intuition.
One last shot across the bow of any mum listening to this.
Yes.
If you are in your business or in something and you're hating it, what are you teaching your children about not putting yourself first and for staying in an unhappy life? Because you would not want that for them.
Absolutely. Because
they're modeling, they're watching, and they're listening everything we do.
Everything. That one hit hard. I love what I do, but I think back to the years where I was burning myself into the ground, and my daughter watching that as being a normal way, and that just makes me sad to think about that.
That's what you do as a wife and a mum, and you give it all up, and no.
Oh, no. And there is a better way. There is.
Absolutely.
And yes, you do have to put work into business to make it happen. You absolutely do. But it doesn't mean that it has to. I just ran a wellbeing week, and one of the things that I was really passionate about through that week was just that message that you can create that life balance and that business that you love without sacrificing your health, because stress will absolutely sacrifice your health or your sanity. And you can go
on, or your relationships. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Lorna, you have a free course that you would love to offer our listeners to take a listen to. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
It is called the Self-Love Project. It is a 4-module EFT tapping course. It's super basic. It's a video, a workbook, and a meditation. And it's been created so we can turn that inner critic down in your head and give that cheer squad in your head a bit of a chance to shine.
Yeah.
And it's a real introduction to EFT, but not just here's EFT. This is how you do it.
Yeah. Fantastic.
So I know you're going to pop the link in.
Yes.
And basically it turns up on one page and you download the whole thing at one time.
Oh,
you don't have to wait for weeks. We're not going to drip feed. There it is.
No, super simple. Get in and get it done. And it sounds like it's got a good, a nice little personal healing touch in there as well.
It absolutely is. Self-love project. I want you all to love who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that inner critic is something I know so many women listening struggle with, because I call her the inner mean girl. So yeah, the inner critic. Yeah, she's loud for a lot of people.
Way too
in
loud.
Business or not in business, that inner critic can be loud in all areas and aspects of life, and learning how to turn her down. I like that you said turn her down, not silence her, because we do want to, with love, validate
exactly
all those things. She's not our enemy. She's just trying to keep us safe. But I love how learning how to turn her down is a really, really valuable tool.
And then you just let the other one come up and shine, and she just gets a bit louder. They're not competing.
Yeah. So I will link all of that in the show notes. Now, I will also pop all of your socials and everything in there as well. But if someone is listening, doesn't want to go down and have a read, and just wants to quickly jump on Instagram while they're listening, where can we find you on Facebook, Instagram?
So Facebook is Australian Tapping Institute. Instagram is Australian Tapping Institute. My private, it's a public group on Facebook, is Business and Success with EFT. You'll see my face and my space all over there. That's where I put all my stuff about who we are and free stuff. I run masterclasses every month. So I have a free masterclass people can jump on, EFT based, but always topic based. They can come and join me there and get some assistance with EFT and start to shift your world around.
Fantastic. And just to be clear, the Self-Love Project is not for practitioners. It is an introduction to EFT.
Exactly.
It is for the everyday person. Just come and just learn how to turn down that inner critic. So just in case you're thinking you don't need to be a practitioner to go and do that one.
There's nothing practitioner in it. It was created probably before I even had a school.
Wow. Yeah. Amazing. Oh, thank you. I have loved every bit of this conversation. I'm still so excited. I want to keep going, but I better not. Thank you.
Love seeing you again.
Your time. Oh, it was so lovely to chat to you, Lorna. I really highly appreciate you joining us on Alive and Thriving, and just the opportunity to talk to you in this space, and the wisdom and the business gold that you have just shared in this episode. I know I hope people listening with a pen and paper, honestly, a journal, and just getting out as much as they possibly can. And if you haven't, make some time, go back, re-listen, and then connect with Lorna on Instagram, and let her know your biggest takeaways as well.
Please. Ask questions. Love to connect.
Wonderful. Oh, thank you so much. I hope you have an amazing day, and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.